Yo, what's going on, everybody? Chibo here with a follow-up to my video about the Genesis 3 Compendium. For those of you that didn't see my last video about this, I released it the day that the Genesis 3 Compendium on Smash.gg had launched, and I just kind of went level by level to see the different kind of choices the money was going to, kind of calculated it, see if it all kind of added up, and just see if this was the best thing for the community. Through it, I found a lot of issues with it, and overall the video had a really great positive kind of response to it. A lot of people were wondering so where is a lot of this money going, and a lot of questions were raised about it, and since then there were a lot of responses from the Genesis 3 organizers and staff over at Smash.gg. But most importantly, I actually got to be a guest host on the Melee on Me podcast last week with Sheridan, one of the TOs of Genesis 3. We got to talk a little bit about it one-on-one to kind of really get some of the good answers to my questions. And there have been a lot of changes to the Compendium since the video was made about maybe 2 weeks ago or so. So overall, a couple things were removed from Compendium, a couple things were added to the Compendium, but one of the biggest things is that the Compendium is now a total of, I think, $12,000 less than it was. So before, the highest level was $60,000, and now the highest level is $44,000. Okay, so it's $16,000 cheaper. So I kind of want to just make a follow-up video to just see if these are good changes, why they happened, and potentially what we can do for the future to kind of make sure everybody kind of understands the whole situation here. But first, going over the hard facts of what actually changed about the Compendium. So it's $16,000 less. The highest level is now $44,000 compared to $60,000. And then the changes are, so there's two additions. One of them is that a bait is now being flown out as well. And then there's also pot bonuses as well. And the pot bonuses total $2,500. So average a bait coming out is $500. And then we're getting $2,500 in pot bonus. That means Genesis as an organization from the Compendium is losing $3,000 off of this. So they're basically giving the community and Genesis together $3,000 more to do stuff. However, what we lost is that there's no longer going to be a dance party at Genesis, which, if you remember in the video, it's actually, I thought, one of the best parts of the Compendium, because it was, probably a lot of money to run something like that. So this is money that Genesis no longer has to spend now, so they're actually going to be gaining that money. It's hard to put a price value on it. Me and Sheridan talked a little bit about it, but I'd roughly estimate this to be $3,000. So what's happening is Genesis is losing $3,000 by giving a flight to a bait and then the $2,500 of pop bonus, but they're gaining $3,000 by no longer having the dance party. So this is basically an even trade, so they're basically providing the exact same amount of stuff that they were before. It's just change, swap a little bit here and there, pretty simple. But what's big about this is that the community is getting the exact same stuff, but somehow, as soon as people started complaining about everything, and then just a whole uproar on social media in my video before, and Reddit was going off about it, it's now $16,000 less. So that means if the Compendium is still fine right now, and I'm assuming that Genesis is not losing money on this, there's no way they would be. That's $16,000 that was completely unaccounted for during the first version of the Compendium. It actually changed twice as well, but the first change was kind of just kept under wraps. It was just a little thing here and there. But yeah, so that means Sheridan really didn't have an exact answer about this, but that means during the first revision there was over 5 digits here unaccounted for, and I think that just kind of proves a lot of my video there to show maybe we need to be a little bit more careful about what we're collecting money for. Now, another one of the big issues was that just the overall not really knowing what the Compendium is meant for. So this is the first tournament I'm going to that there is a Compendium for. So there was Big House 5, which I couldn't make, tipped off 11. Summit was kind of a Compendium, kind of not. It was a little bit different. And then this is the first tournament I'm going to that has a Compendium, so this is why I'm really focused on this. So my idea of the Compendium was, it's the way for the community to kind of purchase cool products and then get to put money into a pot to make the tournament more awesome. So that's why there's different levels where you get this, you get this, you get this. But evidently, it wasn't quite so transparent for the Genesis one. It was a little bit more for Big House, which I didn't notice. But the money for the Compendium also just flat out goes to Genesis as well, and they should be making money by all means. Like, I've been a tournament organizer almost my entire Smash career, and I've made a good amount of money from hosting tournaments, especially during like ages a while ago, back in like 08 and 09, where people were like, TO shouldn't be making money, that's not fair. I'm like, do you know the amount of work we're doing? So like, and hosting an event like Genesis is just like, it's mind-blowing how much work actually goes into it, and they deserve to be paid really well and tons of money. But like, that should all be coming from venue fees and stuff like that. And I know that the tournament's expensive, but if they're falling short on fees, that's kind of their problem. And if they can't make ends meet, they either need to say that like money from the Compendium is going to go to helping pay our staff more because they deserve it, or we're going to be finding sponsors to like kind of help fund this tournament. And Sheridan said that they are looking for sponsors, and there's still some stuff in the works. But like, this tournament is in like less than a month, and we still haven't heard of any sponsors. Like, that's kind of a problem if we don't have that settled yet. And if they're falling short of money and they're kind of depending a little bit on the Compendium, like, the Compendium is a newer thing. I had no idea it was funding tournaments as well. It never said it was going to the Genesis staff on the Genesis 3 Compendium, so... but evidently it did slightly say it on the Big House page that it goes to kind of just help funding the tournament, so... I'm fine with that. It's just that, like... I don't know if that's just something I missed out on, but, on the whole definition of Compendium going around, but I really thought it was the community pooling money together to basically get this large sum of money and make the tournament more awesome with that. And then it's doing that, but it's also kind of giving some to the organizers, which is fine. It's just, I just didn't really get that. Now that I know, it makes a lot more sense. So if there is extra money left over, that's where it's going, which is fine. Like, that's where it would have been going in the first place, but now that it's actually, like, meant to go there, then that's fine. Going over each of the levels, Sheridan really did, like, admit that, like, alright, the whole TK and EE thing is probably, like, the one thing that they'll take, like, the fall on. Like, that was admittedly a pretty bad choice. And they really should be part of normal staff. Like, they should be there. They deserve to be there. I just don't know why they have to have some of the best commentators only if the community gives enough money. Another point that was made is that so the approximation of how much money actually from the Compendium goes towards like getting stuff. So 40% of that's taken out, and that goes to creating the products and going to, like, I guess Smash CG fees or something like that. So basically, for every $10,000, Genesis only sees $6,000 of those dollars. So of the $16,000 that was like unaccounted for, it's realistically like $9,600. Still just about 5 digits though, which is kind of nuts. So I had estimated like, I forget, like 25% at most in my first video, which I just said is negligible because the number still like would have added up fine. But it's really more like 40% is being taken out. It could be a little bit more, a little bit less. It's just like a little bit of leeway room. But what I'm wondering now is that, like, 40% is a lot of money, and, like, it's really cool to be able to make these products to, like, give to the community so people have, like, more Genesis kind of keepsakes or Big House keepsakes or tipped-off keepsakes. But for raising money to make a tournament better, only getting 60% of those funds is, like, really, really bad in my opinion. Like, that's, like, almost half is, like, oh, we don't get that money. Oh, well. Where, so, like, other, like, funds raising money, like the Reddit, r/Smash Bros. Fund, getting money for players, like, sure, they're only going to get, like, a small fraction of what Genesis is going to get, and the, Smash 64, fundraiser only needed, like, $3,000, but 100% of that money gets to go back to, like, making the tournament better. Like, sure, there's no products, but there were, like, so with the Smash 64 one, I believe people were making, like, kind of artistic things to kind of donate to the cause. So then it's like if you donate towards the Smash 64 fund, you either got prizes or, like, a chance to win prizes. I think that's really cool because that's literally the community coming together, kind of donating products that are cheap for them to make, like perler art or art commissions, to kind of, like, boost the tournament. So it's kind of like you're giving the art to Genesis to then kind of, like, give off to donators. I think that idea works great, and you're not going to get as much money overall, but you're going to get to utilize all of that money. And it just seems like a lot, I don't know, like, if you want to have a store to like kind of make money from and sell Genesis 3 like fan stuff, like I would rather personally like get to go to Genesis, pay $15 for a Genesis 3 t-shirt, and then if I want to donate to help bring out an international player, I'll throw $5 his way or $10 his way. I'd rather do that instead of having one lump sum with a compendium, donating $40 and then having like only 40% of that goes towards the fees. And also make some of the stuff really expensive at a compendium, so it's like you're almost like being forced to donate and paying a higher price to get that merchandise. So it doesn't offer a lot of flexibility, and sometimes money isn't going where you think it is. So, but overall, I guess like what I'm trying to get at is like I'm fine with how everything is now. The compendium's better, and now that I understand the definition of the compendium, also giving money towards the organizers makes sense. It's just that, like, I understand there doesn't have to be all the transparency in the world for like where your money's going, because you just can't run a business like that. But like, I was really under the impression that this money is going to this pot, which goes to stuff, and then when there's when that pot's overflowing and there's money just doesn't get spent, where does it go? It's good to at least know it's like intended to like be extra and go to the event. But that's not it. Like, so one of the other things that they reordered a compendium a little bit. So they put less popular things at the end to make room and move up some of the more popular things. So like, for instance, the 24-hour friendlies venue, that's like what everybody wants. It's no longer the last level. It's actually the second to last level. I guess just to help make sure that we reach that point. And I think that's maybe they're worried that they're not going to complete the compendium. But what they ended up doing was they took the Brawl Tournament of Legends and put that at the far back. So before we had to reach, let's see, $32,000 to get to the Brawl Invitational. Now we have to reach $44,000, which is the entire compendium. And they said there's going to be a prize for this, but they didn't say what it is yet. I don't know if they plan to say what it is, but so that's like a free thing. If we're like, that's a $4,000 level there to like fly out Acid, which will cost $500, and then the Brawl Tournament of Legends, which should be free. You don't really need to pay a tournament organizer to go run an 8-person bracket. Like, I can do that, like, with my eyes closed. Like, anybody, like, the 8 players themselves could run their own bracket. So, it just really sucks that, like, for something that's cost nothing to run, aka get 2 Brawl setups, which you're already going to have, or even 1, because they want it to all be on stage. So, it's something they're going to make money from on content. And it makes like no extra TO work, and yet we have to raise $44,000 for it. And I even said like on stream, like, look, this is an offer from me. Like, I will stream this for free. I will run this for free. Like, there's ways to get around this. And it between this and the EE and TK thing and having to pay for certain production, it just feels more like we're paying to make the tournament instead of sponsors or instead of venue fees. Like. So it's fine. It just seems like it's cool to see more players flown out, but like it kind of sucks to also have to like pay for the tournament to like be a good tournament. And it kind of makes me wonder like how this would all go if the compendium just failed and we got like halfway there. And then the final part, I think I already said it like twice, is that every level being $4,000 was only done for like kind of symmetrical reasons to like look nice, I guess, and make sense. But what it actually meant to them is that, like, say, level 1 costs more than $4,000 for them to do, so they're actually, like, say, losing money. But then level 5 might cost less than $4,000, so they're actually going to gain money, so it kind of evens out. So he talked a lot about the underhead and overhead of each level, so, like, the final $44,000 level with Genesis's Brawl Tournament of Legends has a huge overhead on it. I think I'm using it the right way. Meaning there's a lot of extra money there, but that's really just helping put money back to all the money they lost in the lower levels. So, I think it's a really bad way to run a compendium because, like, and I kept saying that, like, I'm going to keep looking at each of these levels in a vacuum, like you said, or, like, unlike what you're saying, because let's say theoretically if we got to level 10 at $40,000 and they're currently negative $1,000, like Genesis lost $1,000, but they're depending on reaching 44,000 to make that money back. The compendium could very well just fail and just stop at $40,000 and not get that overhead back. So like the fact it's divided into level by level by level, and it could stop at any point. That underhead and overhead from every level past that is now invalid. It's out the window. So if you're gonna have a $4,000 level, that should be $4,000 worth of products. Or since it's really only 60% of the money, which I think is $2,400. Like for every level, you should get $2,400 of like prizes or bonuses, and that's why every level I said like, this isn't worth $2,400. This isn't worth $2,400. This isn't worth $2,400. And that's, I don't know, like, so a lot of my concerns are eased in the fact that I guess I didn't understand what a compendium was. But seeing how many people agreed with me on the video, and the response was like, I can't tell you how many PMs I got that were just, people were like, I can't believe you actually said that, like, I'm glad you did it, like, it seemed kind of weird. I'm not the only person that was under this kind of, like, thought here about it. And that's that. So, their intentions are good. I just think that, like, maybe the problem, it's not the Genesis 3 compendium, it's just that maybe compendiums aren't the way to run a tournament. And that's, like, as I said, I think in my last video, if Pound 5 had a compendium, Blank wouldn't have been out thousands of dollars and people would have gotten paid back in 2010. Like, in a day where we're booming with sponsors and people are just waiting to throw money at us. Like when I ran my Smash 4 Online Invitational last December, and I wanted some extra money to give away, so I was going to put $500 out of my pocket to the winner, just because I'm going to be making content from this. So I'm gonna, like, my business plan was I'm going to create content, get money from the content, give it to the players, and then after that I might make some more money at the end of it, like when the videos have been online for years and years. But I was like, you know what, I could probably give them a little bit of a better pot and pay myself back. So I literally went on Twitter and said, hey, I'm running an invitational, who wants to sponsor it? I got 2 or 3 companies, I forget. I think 2 extra companies, Pastime Legends and HubTag, were just like, I would love to sponsor this. That's literally all I did to find a sponsor. I tweeted out with probably 1,000 less followers than I have now. It's just been like, I'm doing this, and I'm sure if, like, the whole world knows, Genesis is the biggest event right now. The TOs were just like, who wants to sponsor Genesis? They're gonna find some people to do it. And so if you're running low on money for the tournament and you want better production and you want to hold these Brawl Tournament of Legends and get EE and TK and get all these documentaries, like, I don't think the compendium is the answer for that. I think the compendium is an answer for, like, a cool way to sell some bonus stuff and kind of, like, incorporate people at home. But otherwise, I feel like maybe it's a little bit more in the community to bring out what they want, which is why I think the Reddit and Smash 64 fundraisers are great. But I can't blame people for using compendiums right now. They're like kind of like the new hotness, so to say. But I don't think it's a good way to go. So that's over 2 videos here, and after the discussion with Sheridan, Genesis is fine. They're doing great. I hope you'll go support the tournament. I'm going. I'm not going to enter the compendium. Also, the one thing I wanted, the premium seating, is sold out. But I just think that, like, I don't agree with Genesis only getting 60% of my money. If it costs 40% to make what I'm buying, I would rather give them 40% to make the stuff and then donate however much I want. So maybe I want to donate a little bit more, a little bit less, or maybe I want to buy more and donate less, or donate more and buy less. Like, there's no flexibility there, and we're kind of forced to adhere to these strict guidelines that, like, numbers all over the place. I don't know how it's working. And the fact that, like, they were able to cut out $16,000 from, like, and they said, like, it was kind of made in a rush. They wanted to get it out soon. But, like, that's a really big oversight. $16,000, like, so that's that. That's about it. I'm going to put a link to the Mail It On Me discussion between me and Sheridan in the description, so check that out. That goes on for about, like, an hour or so. Just some really great back and forth, talking about the compendium and the event, and just really putting some knowledge out there, getting some good answers. Otherwise, I hope to see you at Genesis. Maybe I'll appear on the stream. I don't know. Check me out. And otherwise, I will, I don't know. Have fun. Have a good night, everybody. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm not going to post this on Reddit. Whoever's listening right now, you go post this on Reddit. You get your own karma. Have a good night, everybody.